Okay, Game is China. Gut busting out of my pants. Um, Definite little Euro game. Had a lot of fun with that. I've had a lot of fun in both games that I had. Maybe because Rocking Horse Streams commented on it when I uh, put up information about that I was gonna play this. It makes me think of Carcassonne. And in some ways it really does, because it's got that same kind of, hey, I'm placing something, and some of those somethings I can kind of see clearly that they make me points, so those are kind of the things I want to aim for. But how much do I want to build up in the end? The emissaries are sort of like the farmers in sort of the base Carcassonne, in the sense that it's not clear that they're absolutely worth anything. But here's the weird thing for me. In Carcassonne, I always sort of want to do farmers. Okay, farmers look like they're going to generate lots and lots of points. In this, emissaries, I don't think they really do. I haven't tried an emissaries from the start, a focus on emissaries type strategy with this yet. Would have been interesting to use one of the players to try along that, but Red came close to that in terms of jumping in fairly early. But they also got points off of locations at the same time. So they didn't maximize that sort of interlocking nature that the emissaries can provide. And given that, I'm not sure I gave them the full benefit of the doubt. What would have happened if you started all out for emissaries from the very beginning? My gut tells me it won't work, and I play a game like this almost entirely by my gut, and it's getting bigger. And that's it's hard for me to kind of step back and say, yeah, I want to try this strategy. Maybe after I play 3 or 4 more times, I will feel more like exploring different strategies in the game. But even if emissaries don't work out as a from the beginning strategy, there is still these guys are going to be worth a lot of more points than other things I can place point in the game. And that's something that you have to kind of decide. Are you at that point where you switch over to the emissaries? And do you try to get a jump on them like Red did, which didn't work terribly well. But I would say the biggest problem Red had, they had 2. One is that, well, Green jumped ahead with that fortress, and I don't know how Purple got so many points, but the other is that emissaries are kind of blockable. You can really dick someone over in the things that they most can kind of control of their own points, which is trying to create these interlocking meshes of emissaries. Somebody else can stomp you on that. Trying to get control of an area with the least effort. If you're not putting the full effort in the way Red did in one little corner and took a province all to themselves, well, then someone else is either going to come along for a pretty rich ride, or they're going to be close enough that they challenge you. And then finally, with the emissaries, just blocking locations where you would be able to score. Because there's a limited number of emissaries that go in a space, and it can be very limited if nobody has a lot of houses in that space, if no single person has a really powerful household. And that's what we saw in the one location where Red or Blue could score a decent number of points off to the side, but no one had played there. I like the fact that the cards sort of generate opportunistic play. I like opportunistic play. I like looking at my cards and saying, what the hell do I do with these? I don't like a game where I make a plan and then try to bend the cards to my plan. I don't mind a plan like, I'll go for emissaries instead of houses. But because in that case I am still flexible within those cards. It's not like, oh, I got crap cards, I can't do what I wanted to do. That's, though, a thing, which is that the emissaries you really do want to place in specific places, in a way that maybe the houses later in the game aren't as important to do so. Although you do end up getting a limited number of places. Anyway, it's kind of cool to have the cards in a situation where they're kind of directing what you can do effectively. Now you can choose to play so that you put less pieces down, and in some cases that may be of value. What about the fortification? I don't think it adds a whole lot to the game. It feels like kind of a gotcha element, which is to say, you might be able to score a few extra points if you slap it down early. If you can do it on a road that you're going to get big points off of, that's kind of nice. But otherwise, I think you kind of want to hold it for how green used it in my game was, oh man, I can score so many points off this, I think it wins me the game. It didn't, but it certainly felt that way to me for a long time, that green had the real advantage there. Let's talk about components a little bit. The box and insert, this is your, Uber Play or whatever style thing. These are... they're okay. They serve the purpose, but very little beyond that. And the insert makes it so that you throw all these wooden pieces in, and now there's no room for the cards to go. So you kind of duck the cards underneath the insert here. I know a lot of people like to throw out inserts, but I don't want to do it unless I have to. The board's colorful, it's pretty. And it's functional. And I like the double-sided board. I'm not sure how important it is that there's the differentiation, but I understand why. Apparently there are some expansions or whatever to it. Maybe they're all homemade, I'm not sure. Wooden pieces, all distinguishable. No big deal there. These little guys, they work fine as long as you're not playing on a black table. Take that however you will. The cards are high quality, easily shuffleable, and attractive in their own way. These guys barely used. In the two-player game, we needed them. The less players you have, the more you're going to need. The rule book is... it looks big, but it's in many languages. I don't know how many, 3, 6, 12, I don't know. It's in, German, English, French, and it looks like maybe Italian. Oddly enough. So it actually takes up a lot of more space than it needs to. It's like 4 pages of rules, and they're fairly clear, although all this color is distracting to me. I know that I had trouble getting a grasp on the emissaries on my first reading. I had to kind of actually set the game up and explain it to get an idea of what they did. And how they scored and how they worked. But I don't think that that could be clarified easily. I don't remember anything else in the game, in the rules, that particularly hit me. Play-wise, it feels like you have different options, different ways, different paths you can take to victory. That's something that a lot of Euro games seem to like, presenting you with these, not just different routes to victory, but very, very different kind of paths, like this choice between houses, emissaries, going for paths, going for area control, whether or not you want to boot somebody, whether or not you want to share points with someone or dominate them. Just a lot of nice little choices there. But unlike some games that give you choices, these don't feel tacked on. They feel very, very nice and tight together in terms of, I don't know, I'm thinking of games like De Vulgari Eloquente or whatever, where it just feels like there's all these little pieces tacked together and they don't really represent anything and they make a messy game. In this case, you have a really clean, tight game, which I like. I mean, if I'm going to play a Euro, that's what I want. I want it to be fairly simple, I want it to be fairly clean, I want it to be fairly tight. If I'm going to play something that's trying to represent reality, I'm a lot happier with it being, a cluttered mess. Although, I have to say I'm beginning to question how much I'm willing to accept of that. My current, trying to balance two new rule sets to get one game on the board. This is the Lace Wars and Sea Lord stuff. Trying to get them all in my head at once, that's proving to be impossible because the writing style is different from what I'm used to. The game has some definite ideas that I'm not familiar with. It's expressed in a way that is not normal for me, for war games. And anyway, it's really turning into a bitch, and I think I have to play each of the games separately. But back to China. I love taking my digressions, and I apologize. But a lot of people have covered this, so probably nobody's going to watch this except people who are used to me, right? Back to China. I enjoyed it. I think this is about as good as I can kind of get with these lighter Euros for the most part. I put it up there with the Carcassonnes and, I don't know what else I've really enjoyed. I don't put it up there with Tigris and Euphrates and Ra. I like Knizia games for whatever reason. I really like his games. Even some of the less popular ones I'm finding I really enjoy. So I can't quite say it's at the top tier, but it's acceptable. I certainly wouldn't mind playing this once a year or whatever it is that I like playing a game. And it does have that Dicky factor where you can screw someone over, which a lot of Euro-type games seem to lack. And I absolutely crave that in my smaller games. If I'm playing cards, I want to shaft someone in hearts, I want to make someone go down in oh hell. I want to bid someone up in bridge so that they can't make it. It's always that kind of thing. I don't mind so much when a game is a simulation if it doesn't have that. But if it's a game as a game, I want it to have a lot of conflict, a lot of possibility. A lot of possibility not just for conflict. Conflict's not that interesting. Conflict's in war games, and you don't dick people over in war games. I want it to be where you really, really have this opportunity to kind of either control the game if you do things right, or make plays that keep the other guy off balance. That's really important to me in terms of pure gameplay of the game. And I think this game manages to get enough of that in a very nice way. Up it goes.